Hello and welcome to another edition of the Agri Solutions Cropland Genetics Crop Cam. I'm Mark Ullman, Seed and Agronomy Advisor for Southwest Minnesota. Today I have with me Dustin Nagebauer from New Vision Co-op. We're standing in the field that we shot an episode from, episode number 5, back on May 20th. This field was cut off by the wind, a lot of wind damage. The growing point was still below the ground, and we recommended to keep the field, not to replant. And as you can see, we're out here today doing a stand count, ear count, and a yield estimate. Basically, we have tape measure laid out in front of us here. 22-inch rows need to be 23 feet 9 inches. 30-inch row, which a lot of guys are as well, goes 17 feet 5 inches. But you want to count each ear that is going to make it into the corn head. Okay, so here we have an example. We husked it back. You count the number of rows around, and then count the length. Now, Dusty, is there some guidelines we should be concerned about on how to count and the kernels on the ear and what's going to actually make it an acceptable yield estimate?
Yeah, there sure is, Mark. What I always use is I basically take an inch off for purposes here. We've kind of shown you on the black marks. Don't count anything outside of those marks. Count in between here. This ear, by our count, is 33 by 16, 33 long by 16 around. I always call these kernels at the butt and the tip. If we can get them off the cob, they're going to be extra bushels to us. So I always take, and that's probably where our yield estimates are maybe a touch low sometimes, but we'd rather be a little low. And if we can get these in, great. That's going to be gravy for us. Talking about out here what we've got, we measured on this 22-inch row, 23 feet 9 inches, and we husked back 4 ears. Gave us an average. The plant population out here was 33,000 is what we gathered. On 33,000, we husked back 4 ears, took an average. We got an average yield out here of 214 bushel per acre. So with this growing season, planted at that 33,000, our final stand of 33,000 was great. I truly feel, I'm sure you do too, Mark, with all the moisture that we had this year, we could have probably planted 36,000 out here and probably fed the plants because we had the nutrients and the moisture.
Well, I agree, and it goes back to genetics. Some will flex it big enough here that we don't need high populations, but at the same time, other ones will reward you in yield by pushing that population, depending upon your row width, your soil types, your fertility program, and then, of course, Mother Nature and the moisture she gives you. We got some examples of tip back here, and Dusty, you went into the field and found this. You know, we're on the edge of the field, so these plants are going to be filled more to the tip like the one that he was showing you earlier, but this actually he grabbed from inside the field, and you see there's about 3/4 inch tip back. And that's actually a good population that's telling us that this ear was just about maximized for population, that we really didn't need too much more, but you can see there was some that was never pollinated, and at the same time there was some along the base that were pollinated then aborted due to stresses with the genetic or the environments that this field or this genetic had this year. Some of them stresses could be it was really cool during our evenings and trying to fill that grain. And other ones was a pollination stress due to trying to get that silk to come out of the husk under cool conditions. And some genetics silk better than others. So it's just something to keep in mind as the guy goes through harvest and we started doing some yield estimates. Dusty, any other further comments and ideas?
I guess, yeah, maybe one thing we want to touch on is how to actually estimate your yield. I don't think we kind of touched on that, but like on this one here, 33 long by 16 around. What you want to do is you want to count kernels long in the ear, count your kernels around, take those, multiply those two numbers together, times your population, which out here was 33,000, and then divide that number by 90, and that'll give you a rough estimation of your yield per acre out here. So if you can remember that, kernels long by kernels around by plant population divided by 90 is a good formula to use.
And the plant population was 33,000, but since we measured 1/1000th of an acre, we just went back to 33. And the 90 that we're using is actually 90,000 kernels in a bushel. So you could do the long math and do 30,000 and do 90,000, but just to abbreviate it, we use the 33 as this example, and then divide by 90, because that stands for 90,000 kernels per bushel. Test weight and grain quality, there's still a lot to be determined yet in some of these fields. Some are pretty well along, like this one here, but there's some that do need some time yet, so there's some grain quality to be determined yet. Definitely got some good ear set, kernel depth this year. Every 2 rows around is about 11 to 13% more yield, so you start getting a girthier ear, you can reward yourself in yield too. So With that, this concludes another edition of the AgriSolutions Cropland Genetics Crop Cam, found only on US104.net.